Yeah, I'm drawing a blank.
All I know is that all Canadian dealers are super thrilled with their digital retailing tools. They love all of them.
Seriously,
Yeah.
What's that?
No.
there's really not a lot you can do. That's the you can quote tier one, and then the banks. You're really not desking anything. The banks are the ones that approve everything. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we're talking about Canada here.
yeah,
No, I'm on the Unhaggle website. I don't see any mention of another company. Toronto.
Yeah, maybe it's a different company.
Maybe.
Moto Insight.
Okay,
That's
there
right.
you go.
Yeah, that rings a bell.
Moto Insight. So they own the Unhaggle.
I think when around the time that Toma Bravo bought them, they changed the name from Unhaggle to Moto Insight. I think,
Mm.
or they just the Unhaggle name was kind of
Yeah.
janky, so they changed it to Moto Insight.
Okay. Yeah, number one digital retailing solution North America. Huh.
That's the first time I've heard that claim.
I think there's
Yeah.
about 67 companies that make that claim.
Hmm. Have over 1,000 dealerships in Canada. Well, this is North America, so.
Yeah, they're primarily in Canada. They may have some presence in the U.S. I'm just not. They do a lot, I think, with Hyundai, Genesis, those brands,
Mm.
Kia.
Hmm.
How many dealers are in Canada?
I think about 3,700 franchise dealers.
Okay. Do you know how many independents?
No.
Well, here we go. All right. It's Friday.
Welcome.
And I believe we're here to talk about data today. Right, guys?
Yes,
Vehicle
sir.
data.
I hope so.
Yes,
Right.
yes, sir.
So, yeah, we've got JD Power, and we're really focused on the inventory side of the JD Power umbrella through AutoData and ChromeData. And maybe I'm missing something. I know you guys will point it out. But before you do, why don't we go around the Hollywood squares one way, that way? Jim, why don't we start with you?
Okay. Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, my name is Jim Vecchio, and I am head of VIN Solutions at JD Power through our AutoData group. And I'll be talking a lot about VIN descriptions today and that product which I own.
Brad, who are you?
As of today, I think I'm still with JD Power, hopefully. But no, Brad Korner, I head up the lender desk portion of the product portfolio, which is an API service that delivers rates, rebates, residuals, OEM programs, and lender data. So that's my primary purpose with JD Power. Thanks for having us on.
Thanks for joining us, Brad.
Well, we're gonna blame you for putting this together, Brad. So if it doesn't
Thanks,
work out,
Brad.
it's all your fault.
There we go.
And Kenny, take
Yeah,
it
hey
away, bud.
everybody. Yeah, my name is Kenny DelaPorta. I'm head of inventory data services for JD Power. I'm excited to be here.
And Jim, when you introduced yourself and said you're head of Vin Solutions, that didn't come out
Yeah, it threw me
in my
off.
ears. Because I was thinking
I
of
was thinking,
CRM.
yeah, when you said that, I was like, what?
You want me to change my title?
Hmm.
No, just when anyone says Vin Solutions, you automatically think of the CRM.
Oh, I gotcha. Yeah. VIN services, basically our legacy ADS program and our new ChromeData VIN descriptions product.
Gotcha.
Much shorter.
Yep. Appreciate the clarification, guys.
No, it's just funny. It popped a little flag up. Hold on. JD Power doesn't own Vin Solutions. What happened? So, or did something change this week? Who knows?
This is how rumors get started.
Exactly.
I think we were clearing it up. But to start things off, over the years, we've heard of AutoData, we've heard of ChromeData. There's been a lot of acquisitions under the JD Power umbrella and Thoma Bravo and so many other names. And a lot of this, I think, to the dealer body in particular, has sort of remained behind the scenes because it's a lot of how data interconnects and a lot of services to the vendors of dealers. So can we clear up maybe a little bit of how the corporate structuring works? And then I'd also like to understand, what's the difference between AutoData and ChromeData?
Sure, I can take that one, Jeff. So JD Power is the corporate entity, and JD Power is owned by Thoma Bravo, an investment firm, and one of the largest in the world, actually. And what kind of a walk in the history, AutoData and ChromeData merged, and that was funded by Thoma Bravo. And then JD Power organization became available, and those three entities all merged. So that happened probably about 2.5 years ago. And today, Thoma Bravo is continuing to fund JD Power to make acquisitions. And you've got two people here, Kenny and myself, whose companies were acquired by JD Power. And really, when you look at our product line as an overall company, we really fall into two areas. One is data and analytics, and the other one is more of the traditional JD Power benchmarking. So within data and analytics, we've got valuation and vehicle identification and inventory services. We've got our PIN business, our power information networks. We have OEM technologies that we provide software platforms to the OEMs, and we have a smart digital offering where we do a lot of digital marketing on behalf of the OEMs. We have a dealer technologies group that really focuses on F&I and digital retailing. And people may have seen, we are just made a recent announcement that we are formalizing our digital retail platform, and we're going to make that kind of a soup to nuts solution. And then we have digital marketing capabilities where we work with consumer websites and marketing materials to sell automobiles. And then obviously on our benchmarking side, the traditional JD Power, we license our awards, we do independent studies, and we do a lot of performance consulting, if you will. So the way that the data and analytics is growing, our benchmarking is growing, but today we're probably about 70% data and analytics and about 30% benchmarking by revenue. That makes sense.
Yeah. It's you guys do a lot.
Yeah.
One thing you just said though, so a full digital retailing solution. I know we're getting outside of the inventories for a moment, but Are you all going into the supplying of payment data?
The best way to explain what assets we have is that JD Power acquired Darwin, uh, Darwin Technologies, Phil Batista, and that group of people. And that was primarily for the finance and insurance menu piece of the business, which is really where it would be a big asset for data enhancement to the JD Power benchmarking. So that was acquired. Darwin had a digital retailing application that really wasn't too big. At the time, I forget what it was, maybe 800 or 900 dealers, mostly OEM, uh, uh, centric. And from that point, what they have done, and Jim explained it a little bit earlier, we're looking at basically releasing a set of assets that we currently have today between AutoData, ChromeData, and Darwin that makes it more of a modular series of API services that really could sit behind and power, any type of UX that OEM has, a digital retailing service has, primarily being a lot of the data services such as inventory, inventory descriptions, rates, rebates, offering, and I believe estimated payments may be one of those applications, but we were just exposed to it maybe about a week or so ago. So a lot of it's still being formulated. It's basically a culmination of different API services.
So, an offer logic's a market scan competitor.
Uh, while we empower a lot of the things that OfferLogic does, so I wouldn't say we compete with them. They do payment services, and are very good at payment services as, their product offering. What we're looking at is a suite of different API services that, could plug into OfferLogic in certain circumstances. It could be a plug into other offerings. We probably power a lot of competitors of Market Scan, though, because Market Scan is more of a soup to nuts type of delivery.
Well, thanks, Brad. And sorry to take it off the inventory side. That was just an interesting sidebar that obviously my other company would find a lot of interest in.
Yeah. More to come on that, and probably over the course of the next couple of weeks or toward the end of the month, there'll be more detail coming out around that.
Cool. Look forward to hearing more.
What
All
Ryan
right.
say?
No,
So,
definitely not.
yeah, Ryan, for those of you who can't see, Ryan Everson was asking if AutoData can convince Stellantis to get rid of eShop and switch to JD Power's Darwin.
Someone might be able to pull some strings.
TBD.
Oh no, it's no. The answer is no.
That's
All right. So AutoData and ChromeData are merged. Right. That helps to explain some things.
right.
Yep. And with that merging, you've got some key data assets now, right?
Correct.
What are those that you all are focused on?
So think of it this way: AutoData traditionally was a more of a software solution for, say, OEMs and vehicle ordering, and really they got their start with fleet management back, 20, 25 years ago. And I apologize if I'm off on my years a little bit. And ChromeData really was more of the catalog company for merchandising. And when they brought the two companies together, they merged those technologies. And then, PIN was in the mix with a lot of the sales data. So now we have access to all of those data assets along with our relationships with the OEMs. And I think we've got about 85 to or more percent of every vehicle sold, we have an OEM build data relationship. And when we take those assets, our Chrome catalog, our configuration rules, our build data relationships, we're very confident that when we get a VIN to describe or to process within our network, that we can give a very accurate description on that. And that's kind of a fundamental base level. We strive to do a very good job of that, and that is foundational. And that accurate description powers a lot of our solutions, like Kenny's inventory solution and Brad's lender desk solution. So we're are always striving or still bringing different assets together, but our goal is to have total transparency and accuracy in our data, and to really be take our accurate data and really benefit and enhance our other solutions.
Can you give an example of what that would look like to a consumer, maybe on a dealer website or?
Yeah,
Go ahead, Brad.
Oh, I was just going to mention, dealers' data starts out, and it's not always as complete and thorough as what it could be when
You
it
don't
ends up
say.
being communicated. Yeah, yeah, you find an issue here and there. And Kenny, it may be good to talk about what you guys do, starting with the dealer's data and how that gets enhanced, through Jim's services on the way to those websites.
Yeah, in my view, decoding VINs or describing VINs in general really shouldn't happen in a bubble, right? It should happen at the point of importing a vehicle. The dealer's data shouldn't be assumed to just be incomplete or not useful, right? And just fall back to whatever the data says. Not to downplay the data, but data can be enhanced from what the dealer tells you, right? Sometimes dealers do input some very valuable information, and especially at times where that 15% or 12% of the time where you don't have build data, or a vehicle had different equipment added to it, right? The vehicle, if the dealer has put any effort into inputting that into their inventory system and they've sent that out to us to decode that, when we import it, that's the time where you want to decode the VIN. When you can look at that, if I don't have a one-to-one match just by the VIN on the trim, right, and there is import data there that can help me understand or reduce down that style, I can use that import data and say, okay, well, wait a minute, I know this. Or what if the dealer has an internet manager who, and that's some of the challenge of dealer world, where maybe the people inputting the inventory into their DMS, right, is an accounting-minded person, right? And the internet manager is somebody who is really a marketing-minded person and trying to focus on, what do I need to write in these seller's notes or in the comment section of this car that's going to help someone raise their hand and say, hey, I want this car, right? So when you look at decoding a VIN from the inventory management perspective and why it's the perfect moment to truly decode, when I take in that VIN, I can look in that seller's notes and see, hey, this happens to be a Mercedes vehicle, and I'm making this up, so please don't hold me to what I'm saying right now, but the notion is the same. It's that internet manager who's actually doing a good job and putting some great seller notes in there and saying, hey, this car has this package, you're going to love it, right? Now, I don't have a build data record on this VIN, and I'm not really sure, so we're not going to be able to return that as installed. But we use the data that's given to us, even the textual data in the comments, to try to connect and reduce down both the trim. So let's say they do a wonderful job in the comments. I'm able to now say, okay, wait a minute. Now I know that this VIN has this package. And then we can connect that even further down and say, oh, wait a minute. It has to be this trim also because this package only comes on this trim. And now all of a sudden, I have a much better picture of this car as a whole because I use the import data from a dealer who is actually putting some effort into it, right? So we don't want any data wasted. And that's why, and I know I get a little like caught up in this stuff. I tell my kids all the time I used to be cool, but this stuff
This is
gets
cool,
me excited.
man. You got the right
Yeah.
audience today.
So yeah, this stuff gets me excited, and then we think about, okay, wait a minute now, what about on the output of that? So okay, now I've used the import data, and sometimes the import data is useless, right? Not every dealer has someone who is diligent, right, or putting any information in there, and sometimes the import data could actually hurt the process, right? What if somebody is putting that accounting-minded person who's just putting stuff in and is actually leaving things out or putting things in incorrectly, right? So what we do at that level is we first will take a VIN and we'll bounce it off of a build data record and we'll say, hey, what is this thing? And if we get a build data record back and that's the source, right? We know, okay, wait a minute, this is everything. I know the exterior color, interior color, I know the optional equipment, I know the option codes, I know the trim, I know everything I need to know about this car. I'm not going to try and look at that extra data. I will pass it through as information provided by the dealer, but I'm not going to use it to change the trim or to change optional equipment at that moment to override like a build data record, right? Unless the client tells me they want me to do that. So we have the best of both worlds when one of our clients says to us, look, we love ChromeData, we love your build data, we love all of that, but we want to put it all at the right moment in the process, and we don't want to have to do all of that work. So our inventory team gets the inventory in, pulls it all together, and then hands them one API, all of the decoding done and logic done for them, and say, here, just take it from here. You're good to go. So sorry, I went off on a little bit of a tangent.
No, why is it so difficult though? I mean, why can't the manufacturer just supply this information VIN specific? I mean,
Well, I can tell you, I can take that one, and I'm sure I'm not going to get all of the reasons, but one of the reasons is that OEMs are somewhat, or they are very protective of their build data because they view that as almost like a proprietary, secret for their, creating competitive advantages. So if the build data is out there, for instance, and one OEM has a competitive product, they could have access to that, competitive vehicle and figure out, how is that vehicle being equipped from a, package options. And from the OEM perspective, they don't necessarily want their competitors to know exactly how their vehicles are equipped. We're seeing, though, that, vehicles are becoming much more complex. The modern vehicle, if you think ADAS and you think of all the technology features, it's very important to have accurate descriptions so that you can capture all of those high value options and packages, and to create transparency downstream when you're financing the vehicle, you're insuring the vehicle, you're taking a trade-in. Back to Jeff, your example, a lot of vehicles are purchased today sight unseen. Trade-ins are conducted, sight unseen. So how do you value that vehicle and know what's actually on it? So when you think of that data at the 17-digit VIN and you have the build data, you know how that vehicle rolled off the line, how it was equipped as it rolled off the line. And one of the things that I discovered when I first got to JD Power and AutoData is the processes that we have in place to both, contractually protect that build data and not share it where we're not allowed to, and the processes that we have for handling it internally, because we ultimately take the build data and do some normalization and still use our catalog so that data is consumable across OEMs. We will pass, the marketing specific language per OEM, but we're basically normalizing that build data through our catalog so that it can be used across the board. And I think, just to Alex, to answer your question, why isn't everybody sharing it? Well, because there are some competitive secrets in there, things that the OEMs feel like, is really confidential information that they don't just want everybody having access to out there.
Y-
Boy,
Great
Jeff,
answer. I'd never thought about it like that. That's still mind
but
numbing.
yeah, but if it's going to be for public consumption on a website, for example, isn't that?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't understand what would be confidential at that point.
well, I think it's confidential up to a certain point. When the vehicle gets released and launched, it becomes less of a restriction. You can, describe the vehicle, especially, you look at the Moroni label and it's going to have basically all the option and package codes on it, what the pricing is for
Yeah.
them, that sort of thing. So, a lot of that confidentiality is around up to and, part of the vehicle release. And, a lot of that's around making sure that some of the option packages and the content remains confidential until it becomes public. So yeah, I agree with you. It's like there's a certain point in time when the public gets all of the information. That's when it becomes less restrictive.
Hmm.
Yep.
Jeff, though, to your
OEMs are
point,
weird.
though, about making it more difficult, or it shouldn't be this difficult. I think more OEMs are going to have to give on this, because all of these conversations about digital retailing and making it easier for customers to buy cars online, and yet they come out with these ways for customers to get the incentives and the rebates and to get payments and to, I'm going to deliver you the car. Okay, how are you going to do that if the customer doesn't even know what's on the car? Like, that's
Exactly.
step one in buying a car, buying anything online, right? You don't buy a blender on Amazon if you don't know it has the buttons that you're looking for, right? The first step in buyer confidence is, I have to know if it has everything that I want, right? To me, data now is replacing that, emotional buying experience. It has to replace the new car smell, right? Because there's no, look at myself in the mirror when I sit in the car anymore, right? If we want to sell a car online, we have to give them check every box. It has all of the features I want with confidence. And I saw, George posted a comment about, the different ways that manufacturers even say things. That is part of even what we do now with inventory, because it's confusing, right? When everybody is saying, like you think about the different ways that manufacturers say a pickup truck with a full back seat, right? There's crew cabs, there's mega cabs, there's quad cabs, it's maybe, for us as an inventory solution, we can normalize the data on a client by client basis. So it doesn't matter to us how it decodes, but if you're a third party website, let's say, and you're going to show all manufacturers pickup trucks on your website, and you just wanted them all to say this crew cab, no matter how many, there's crew cabs, there's extended cabs, and there's regular cabs, and no matter what, so you could tell us that, and just for this client they will all say those three things. And if somebody else wants to tell us, hey, I don't like that extended cab word, it should be mega cab, okay, no problem. For that client, it could say mega cab, right? So that's the power of our data and what we could do on a client by client basis. So it's not just being accurate and complete. It actually has to now be ways that is consumer friendly and user friendly to the application that it's being powered by, or it's powering, I should say.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of that standardization is critical, like what the question George just asked, so that a customer who's searching for a technology package, for instance, will get the vehicle that has that option or package code on it.
Regardless of what the OEM calls it.
Okay.
Yeah, for a long time that wasn't available within ChromeData. at dealer.com, we had to have an entire department that was built around taking a sunroof and a moonroof and a hole in the top of the car and saying, okay, when somebody searches across an entire inventory, a dealer group website or something along those lines, and they just want a piece of glass in the ceiling, let's give that a simple name. So no matter what the OEM calls it, the customer might have a different word for it and
Right.
can do that. So that exists now.
It does.
Correct.
It does. And I think one of the things that we're very proud of is, like, Kenny and Brad and I have been at JD Power for, a couple of years, is the fact that we are innovating, and we are doing a lot of work around normalization and making vehicle descriptions more consumer friendly. I know we have thousands of CGI assets. So you can say, what is park assist? And, there's a little video on it. And the descriptions that we have are very consumer friendly. And that comes along with our data. So you can rank the important features that are important to customers, and customers can understand it in kind of more of a simple marketing explanation rather than that technical. Because as you guys know, with a lot of the ADAS features and the technology features, it can get very confusing very quickly.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Well, why don't we take a quick minute to answer two questions from the audience?
Okay.
Drew Immense wondering if you cache the dealer data for use at a future time. So if the car was sold and 2 years later it gets traded, did you capture the information from that prior dealer to the next dealer, et cetera, et cetera?
It doesn't follow the vehicle around.
And is it in a blockchain? No, just kidding.
I'll block it.
Not yet.
Kenny, do you want to take that, or do you want me to take that one?
From the inventory perspective, no, we don't. But yeah, Jim, I don't know if you do anything.
Yeah. So we have one of the technologies that Epi Analytics we developed, which we integrated into our new VIN description solution, is the ability to take vehicle data that is not sourced from OEMs. And if we saw a vehicle, let's say for sale, 2 or 3 years ago, and we created what we would call a engineered record. An engineered record is really where if we have vehicle data, we have relationships with data providers, contractual relationships. We have build sheets, window stickers, a lot of data assets that aren't, the actual build data from the OEM. We can create a engineered record using text analytics and some machine learning, so that we can, as Kenny mentioned earlier, we can create a record with a style ID. And for Chrome, a style ID is kind of like the unique identification of that VIN. So you run a VIN, the style ID is going to include the trim, the packages, what style that vehicle is. It's very granular. And we can create that style ID using our underlying technology to create a record. So if we saw that vehicle come up for sale 2 years later, most likely we would have that in our database, and we would know that it was equipped a certain way, and it had certain exterior color, interior color, the trim level, the packages, all the things that you would see in a record. Now, one of the benefits of having that engineered data is it allows us to have coverage for vehicles that we don't necessarily have build data relationships, or for OEMs that don't share their data with us. So we at least have something that gets it down to a one-to-one single trim, single style match. The shortcomings is when we license all the build data and our customers have access to the build data for an OEM, they have 100% coverage on every vehicle that the OEM made, that we have the data, for the years that we have. Because we source the data from other sources for the engineered data, we don't always have 100% coverage. And, sometimes even the data source that we get might have something like a color or something that might be incomplete. But generally, it's about 95% complete if we were to compare it to a build record.
So you have an answer that my dad and I were toying around with years ago. I think when the average price of a new car broke 30 grand or 27 grand or something like that.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah, we were trying to figure out like how many choices at that price point are there for a consumer, um, and we came up with like thousands, just over a dinner conversation. But you actually know by that style ID the answer, don't you?
We do, and that's you're talking. I don't know if you're talking about used or new vehicles, but
No,
yes,
new, just for the current model year. Yep.
yep.
Yeah, I think, that's a great point, Alex, because I saw Ryan's note that came across about search by feature. You can search by, category or vehicle segment, whatever package somebody's looking for, whether it's, luxury package or, whatever it might be. And also by payment. So, there's a lot of different criteria with that style ID, as well as all those other attributes in the VIN that you can index your search by. And, all of it helps the consumer be able to really find what they're looking for.
I'm curious to what manufacturers prefer not to share their data. No answer.
You know,
Everyone
You mentioned
except
earlier that
Mercedes,
there's a
right?
few you said there's a
Yeah.
few OEMs that are more reluctant in
Most
sharing their
do.
data.
Well, even to give some leeway to some of the OEMs that even do share their data, that is their data asset. They own it, right? So they have revenue streams based on that data. They have different motivations with sharing that data, and I'll give you two examples of where they are maybe not willing to share their data, and maybe where they're more willing to share their data. So on the one hand, why would an OEM want to share their data more freely? So one area that we're seeing with a couple of our OEM relationships is they want auction houses to pervasively have the build data, so that when somebody buys a vehicle at an auction, it represents the true value of that vehicle, and that will enhance the resale value of the vehicle, the residual values. So incomplete information might result in a lower residual value for a particular model or particular trim. So that's area where we're seeing OEMs starting to say, well, yeah, this data should be out there. All the auctions should have it. On the other hand, if you're a OEM and you have OEM parts, you don't necessarily want a third party repair shop to have access to your parts catalog or your configuration data, because today we're seeing, even within trim, with the same vehicle, same trim, based on the options that can be configured, you might have a completely different windshield if you have a heads-up display than a vehicle that didn't have that heads-up display option. So two things can happen. One, there could be a mistake and the improper part might be installed. And secondly, it promotes for the OEM, it promotes they have all their OEM parts, and they would rather that you use an OEM part rather than a third-party aftermarket.
Never even thought about that.
Mm-hmm. So two kind of sides of the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
There was a question from Dan Sayer in regards to current hot topics that has got your attention. And one, we vowed with every Refresh Friday show for the rest of the year to get into the FTC compliance that is upcoming for dealers and vendors. And is there anything that you guys can comment on that front, whether it's education for anybody or stuff that you're looking into, whatever it might be?
The one area that I think we have to be careful of, in particular with marketing vehicles online, generating payments, digital retailing, is if the FTC does restrict, I would say, charging certain services that they deem, this is the whole thing that we're going through right now. They're deeming as not having a value, and including that with, a package that's being marketed, with that particular vehicle that has a
Like
value.
gap insurance or nitrogen tires?
Yeah, or windshield etching, or whatever it might be. Exactly. And that, I think we're keeping our eye on, because that's a little bit of a rabbit hole that I don't think too many people have thought about, going down, but that may decouple some of those F&I services, and, really put scrutiny on it, where, people really haven't, thought, they're probably doing it as part of what their ongoing process is. And there's probably needs to be some type of audit, or confirmation that whatever's being packaged, is the correct thing, and that you're not including something that shouldn't be.
One of the things we learned this week, my other company, we've been looking at increasing our insurance and in relation to what's coming here, just to make sure that we're covered and whatnot. And all the insurance companies we've been talking to have all said one thing that's been great to hear is that as long as you are documenting and showing that you're trying to comply, the FTC is usually willing to work with you. It's those who are doing nothing that get their hands slapped.
Makes sense.
So did they give you any examples, Alex, of, what would be an effort that, is being taken to, to comply? Did they have any examples?
Well, the biggest one, and I'm not sure how much it impacts the JD Power organization, but for any solutions that deal in customer data, it's more than just your traditional PII as we've known it. It goes into first names and last names and email addresses now. So if you're sending any of that information in an ADF or an XML email that goes to a CRM system or an internet lead management tool, that could be an issue, because the new one of the new regulations states that any customer data must be encrypted at rest and in transit. So that's a big one. I think it's going to affect everybody who works in leads.
Mm-hmm. CRM.
That's CRMs, that's websites, that's third party, cars.coms, auto trade, like all that stuff.
And then we have a few months to get it done.
Yeah, it goes into effect in December. So
yeah
no rush.
Wow.
And judging by y'all's silence,
Yeah.
Well, I know that we have we've got a pretty comprehensive in-house legal department at JD Power, and we are always meeting on making sure that we are, in many instances, because we are dealing with automotive data, that we're not commingling any PII. And from a kind of a VIN database perspective and VIN descriptions, VIN decoding, we don't have a lot of PII. So we're not, we don't have a lot of consumer information that we're collecting. And we're selling our data to maybe an insurance carrier, and they have all that information in their databases about, the insured. And we're selling that data to the company's, a dealer technology provider who has the DMS, and they've got all the customer information in there. So, I'm not saying we never encounter it, but we do a really good job of making sure if we see it, we handle it the proper way.
Until cars get their own, their own entity, and we got to protect them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, should we get back to what we can do with inventory data?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, y'all have covered a lot there. What are some other?
Yeah, I didn't realize. It's hard to believe how much goes into it.
Well, we could take on a whole other realm where you've also got the incentive data. And some incentives match right up easily to specific vehicles. Like it just lays right out, super easy. No work, right?
Yeah,
with
there's
General
really not
Motors.
any work going on. Yeah, there's probably 50 people up in Canada that would pull their hair out hearing that. That's for sure. But compared to 2 years ago, or a little bit over 2 years ago, the number and the amount of incentives is significantly less, right? Probably 40 to 50% less. But the incentives that are used today, uh, first of all, they're a lot more granular, down to the option, package code, fuel type, drive type. Any number of different ways where an OEM, if they're seeing a vehicle that doesn't have the sales velocity they're looking for, that's one reason. Or it may be that they can discount an option package, fairly significantly because the cost of it is pretty low. So there's a lot of different reasons that drive that, but more than anything, because there's everything's at MSRP or sometimes above. The conditional offers are really, the qualifying offers that are becoming, I would say, more valuable to consumers, also for dealers to, be able to scour and include, and that's even with independent lenders. The captives have always had pretty much their own offers, the subvented offers and in association with the vehicle. But the independent lenders are, looking at combining whatever finance offers the OEM's going to have uh, along with their offer, their purchase or lease offer. So all of it's getting more and more important, especially in your business. Around Alex, around making sure that payment reflects basically everything that would be available for that consumer, especially after you run a soft credit pull and you get a trade value and et cetera. Making sure that you're stacking and providing all available offers for that consumer.
Well, hopefully we get some inventory being built again and the incentive machine cranking. Give those people some more reason to pull their hair out over in your incentive department.
Yeah, I saw a post, I think it was yesterday, that showed that inventory from a year ago was up like, I think 15% for new cars. So, it's a little engine that can, it's we're starting to see some progress.
I haven't spoken to a dealer in the past 3 months who hasn't said, "Hey, I've seen a truck or two more than I've seen in the whole half of the beginning of the year." So, yep. So
Yeah, I
Kenny,
spoke with a Ford dealer earlier this week in Vegas, and he said that never in his life has he seen the number of vehicles ordered. I think he has like a rolling number around 1,500 at all times.
Wow.
Goes up and goes down, but they're accruing like 1.5 million dollars, at all times, and the deposit fund. And he said on Christmas holiday last year, they had like a record number of people that walked in and stroked a check for $1,000 to order a car during Christmas. When you would think that people are doing everything they can to, budget for Christmas presents and that sort of thing. So unprecedented times, that's for sure.
And with an order bank like that, you go out and raise some capital pretty easily. So
December's
Kenny,
always a big month for us.
Yeah.
I got a question for the dealer audience listening, and maybe this will help Jeff as well. I assume, Kenny, this would be up for you, but if you could give dealers a list of these are the things that we would love to have in order to make your inventory look amazing everywhere. You mind hitting on some of those?
Well, you mean besides like actual photos of the vehicle? I mean, of course, that's like, let's not state. Okay, so stating the obvious, we'd always want actual photos of every car, right? If for any one of our clients are going to, if we're managing inventory for anybody, they're always going to want quality photos, right? That's a must. But attention to detail it really is. It's the solution to selling cars online. We need option descriptions, option codes would be wonderful, but we don't, you can't expect that, right? But more, if you asking me in a perfect world, right? You're going to give me all of those details. I'm going to know. You're going to give me optional equipment. You're going to give me, here's something that I'll never have. If you added something to the car, you're going to tell me. I need to know that. Like I'm dead in the water with that kind of thing, and I have no chance of knowing that, right? I need to know that. If you added optional equipment to the car, you changed something on the car that's not standard to that trim, you got to raise your hand and tell me that one, right? If you changed something or added something that's going to add on top of the MSRP even, right? That should be noted as well. So anything that's optional is always best to make sure that it's described in the details, right? And also, because we don't always get this when we don't have build data, exterior color and interior color. Those can be elusive if we don't have build data. Exterior color and interior color, especially interior color. It's not always there when we don't have.
Do you want it as the manufacturer described name or just red?
Well, manufacturer, both will work. But just red, though, can be a challenge because red could mean two different manufacturer reds, right? So, the more detail, the better off you're going to be. But, it also goes back to what you want to show on the output. You might only want to show the red because customers don't even, I've seen colors myself and I'm not even sure what it means. Like, I don't even know if that's in the blue category or the red category. So it all goes back to that, what you want your output to be. But details along optional equipment, interior color, exterior color could be tricky. Always the exact trim, could be helpful, even if not for anything else for us to verify. It's always helpful.
Nice. All right.
What challenges do you see maybe coming down the road, especially as we go into the EV market? A lot of manufacturers are looking into a way to start these subscription models. So your car has heated seats equipped, but you've got to pay extra on a monthly subscription, yearly subscription in order to enact those different accessories. Now, I don't know how they're going to do that. Is that something that, it will just be attached to the owner of that vehicle during that time? Or once you unlock it, it will continue? I've heard different OEMs having different ideas around that. Have you guys considered any of that? Because that's going to, the car could come without heated seats and activate it. A buyer buys it. They go ahead and turn it on. They trade it in. If it's one of those instances where it sticks with the car no matter what afterwards, that's going to be important to have that information. I guess that's almost going to have to be input in from the next dealership.
Yeah, and in the data side, we're going to have to identify it as a subscription, like we would an OnStar type of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But knowing, if it was that, see, that's a whole nother thing, is to knowing if it actually is subscribed to or not, right? Like OnStar has, you get it for 3 months if it's a used car kind of a thing, or if you get it, we need to know that's different. We'll be able to tell you, like right now, we know that, right? It's on the car and it's subscription based. We can tell that and we can report that back to you in the data. I think Tesla might have been doing that already. So some of their cars coming back used already. And I think with Tesla, don't quote me on this, I'm not sure, but I do think, because we don't deal with Teslas a lot because they're not dealer based in the inventory world, but I think Tesla is owner subscription. It's not with the car forever, but I'm not positive about that.
Yeah,
So
me either.
I think that there's the model they went with. It's like literally you trade the car in, I think they can turn it off for the next owner.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the model they went with. So we right now would be reporting that it has it. It's subscribed. It's a subscription based, but it has it. So we would be looking towards the OEMs to report back to us if it's activated or not. Those are all details that we're working through with the OEMs right now. How are we going to handle this? But those are regular conversations. We're having those conversations right now.
But if the car is able to have the option, like XM radio, for example, that's, you got to subscribe to that. Or Ford has an app. At one point, you had to subscribe to it in order to get the auto start feature, stuff like that.
That's what a lot of them do now.
Yeah.
Yeah. But people are expecting that. You know that maybe, OnStar is subscription based, or the app with Chevy, you kind of expect that. But the heated seats, that's not expected at this point, right? Maybe, sooner or later that would be a normal question to ask. But to Jeff's point, people are going to see, it has heated seats, and not even think that you might have to re-up for that, right? So, we do know now that we can identify, look, this is a subscription, but knowing if it was subscribed to or not, that's the conversation that's going on right now with the OEMs, and they are all handling it differently, and it will get ironed out, it'll get worked out, but it's still in progress right now.
It's another nuance to deal with, huh?
What could be helpful is if you guys worked with data providers, say a website company, and we knew that heated seats was a subscribable option on this used vehicle. If there was a service a website company could get from you guys, maybe it had a hover over on that option or something, and then it showed, heated seats are $14 a month or something along those lines.
Yeah.
I hate it.
We
have
in our newest data VDS, Vehicle Description Services, which is a next generation off of what we called ADS before. We have this concept of this is the feature, and then this is a description of the feature. So it actually will tell you, like in layman's terms, like, okay, this is this fancy thing called lane departure warning, or whatever it is, right? And then it'll just say, hey, this brings you back into the lane if you fall asleep, right? That kind of thing, whatever it is, right? But if the feature could be, heated seats, subscription-based heated seats, and then the explanation could be, this is a $14 subscription, right? But we will get there for sure, and it'll be in the description. And that's part of like that new data that's already out, and our clients are already subscribing to that. And the purpose of it really has been more along the lines of, hey, let's give that, consumer-friendly, further hover over description of what this thing even means to, end users, to make it easier for website companies. But that's going to be a use of that as well, that you just described, for sure.
Right.
But we still have to get that data.
Right. And as we mentioned, we have thousands of different feature descriptions just over the last, year or so that describe the modern vehicle. And, subscription, heated seats, subscription based is definitely on the list. And, all the ADAS and the technology features. These are all new things, and we're always keeping up on that. And as Kenny said, putting that consumer friendly spin on it, so you could just kind of understand what that actually means from a technology perspective.
Fun challenges. And I have one challenge for you on the heated seats. If you make the description, these heated seats will burn the wallet off your butt, that would be great. So I want to thank you guys for helping us better understand the data behind all these things we're seeing all the time.
Yeah, it's easy to take it for granted. You run the VIN decode through your inventory piece, it comes out, you clean it up, and you move on with life. But you don't realize how much goes into it. It's crazy.
A lot.
It's our passion.
Again, thank you all for coming here and educating us.
Yeah, I really appreciate it.
I know we didn't even begin to scratch the surface.
Thanks for having us on. This has been fun.
Yeah.
You got
do
it.
it again.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Till
Alrighty,
next
have a
Friday.
good Labor Day weekend.
Have a great weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, take care,
Labor
everybody.
Day. Take care.
See ya.
Bye.